Chosen one, stop everything you're doing right now. Put down that phone. Close that other tab. Because what I'm about to tell you wasn't meant for everyone scrolling tonight, it was meant for you. Did you know that less than 3% of people will ever hear their true calling? Did you know that 97% of souls walk through life completely blind to the divine assignment burning inside their chest? And did you know that the very fact you're watching this right now at this exact moment, in this exact season of your life, is not an accident? You weren't supposed to find this video. The algorithm wasn't programmed to show it to you. But heaven overruled every system, every coincidence, every random click that brought you here, because something sacred is shifting in the spiritual realm. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. And most people aren't ready, but you might be. Listen to me carefully. If your heart started pounding the moment you heard Chosen One, if there's a weight in your chest you can't explain, if you've been feeling restless, unsettled, like something's been trying to break through, that's not stress, that's not anxiety, that's a divine stirring. That's heaven knocking on the door of your spirit, saying, wake up, your time has come. You've been hiding, haven't you? Like Elijah in that cave, thinking nobody sees your struggle, your doubt, your midnight prayers whispered through tears. You thought you were forgotten, but God is whispering right now, I have 7,000 who have not bowed their knee. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. To every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks, your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your support, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and sow that seed of faith. But right now, I need to know, are you ready? Because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every lie you've believed about your life. It will expose why you've felt different, why you've struggled where others succeeded, why doors slammed shut just when breakthrough seemed close. If your spirit is burning right now, if something deep inside is screaming, yes, this is for me, type 777 inches the comments. Don't think about it. Just do it. That's not a random number. That's divine completion. That's heaven's frequency. And when you type those numbers, you're not just commenting, you're declaring to every principality, every power, every force that tried to keep you small, I'm ready to receive what God has for me. Stay until the end. A final prayer is coming that could unlock what's been held back for years. Your breakthrough starts now. Why have you always felt like you were on the outside looking in? Why does it seem like everyone else got the memo about how to belong, how to succeed, how to fit in, but somehow you missed it? And why, despite all your prayers, all your faith, all your trying, does breakthrough feel like it's always just beyond your reach? I'm going to tell you something that will shake you to your core. Something that explains every struggle, every setback, every moment you've wondered if God forgot your address. You think you've been walking through random hardship? But beloved, what if I told you that every single trial was deliberate? Every closed door was strategic. Every rejection was redirection. You see, there's a profound difference between being chosen and feeling chosen. And right now, sitting wherever you are, carrying whatever burden weighs on your heart tonight, you need to understand this truth. You didn't choose God. He chose you. Long before your first breath, before your parents even met, before this country was founded, before time itself began its march, your name was written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Listen to what the prophet Jeremiah heard when he tried to make excuses. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1-5. That word "knew" in Hebrew means intimate knowledge, the way a master craftsman knows every detail of his masterpiece before he ever picks up his tools. You are not dust that happened to organize itself into a person. You are design. Heaven did not recycle leftover materials to make you. God handcrafted you with the same precision. He used to fling stars into space and carve the Grand Canyon. Every wrinkle on your face tells a story he authored. Every gray hair is silver thread woven into his tapestry. But here's where it gets personal. Here's where your heart might start racing. If you were chosen before time began, if you were set apart for divine purpose, then why? Why have you struggled so much? Why did that marriage fall apart? Why did money always seem to slip through your fingers? Why did your children go through hell before finding their way? Why did it take so long for anything good to stick? I met a woman last month, Dorothy, 73 years old, from Buffalo. She told me, "Pastor, I've been praying for 40 years and I still don't feel chosen. I feel forgotten." She'd buried her husband, watched her son battle addiction, lost her home twice. Where was God when I needed him most? And then she said something that broke my heart. "Maybe I'm just not good enough to be chosen." Beloved, do you hear the lie in that? The enemy's greatest weapon isn't temptation. It's making you question your identity, making you believe you're ordinary when you're royal, making you think you're broken when you're being built. Let me tell you what I told Dorothy. King David, the man after God's own heart, was so overlooked that when the prophet Samuel came looking for the next king, David's own father didn't even invite him to the ceremony. His brothers stood there, getting examined like prize cattle, while David was out in the fields doing the dirty work nobody else wanted. But God said to Samuel, "Not this one, not this one, not this one." And finally Samuel asked, "Are these all the sons you have?" Only then did Jesse remember little David, the forgotten one, the overlooked one, the one everybody passed by. But watch this one. Samuel 16:12 says, "The moment David walked in, the Lord said, 'Rise and anoint him.'" This is the one. Not because David was perfect, not because he had it all figured out, but because God's choices aren't based on human resume. They're based on divine recognition. Dorothy's breakthrough came 6 months later. Her son, the one she'd been praying for through 2 decades of addiction, called her from a rehabilitation center, not to ask for money, to thank her. He said, "Mom, I don't know what it was, but 3 months ago, I was shooting heroin in an alley and I heard your voice praying for me. I heard you praying, Mom, and something broke in me." That son is now 2 years clean, married, and just gave Dorothy her first grandchild. 40 years of prayers answered in one divine moment. Because chosen ones don't pray in vain, they pray in faith that spans decades. You want to know why your journey has been harder? Because chosen ones are always forged in fire before they wear the crown. The same furnace that could destroy ordinary metal creates diamonds from carbon. The same pressure that would crush regular stones produces precious gems. Every tear you've cried, every sleepless night you've endured, every time you got back up when staying down would have been easier. That wasn't punishment. That was preparation. God wasn't ignoring your prayers. He was answering them by making you strong enough to carry what He's about to give you. Your struggle was never a sign of God's absence. It was proof of your calling, because ordinary people get ordinary battles. But you've been fighting spiritual warfare at levels most people never see, because you're being prepared for spiritual authority most people never carry. The question isn't whether you're chosen, you are. The question is, are you ready to step into everything your lifetime of preparation has been building toward? Because what's coming next will explain why heaven marked you, why your struggles had purpose, and why your breakthrough is about to shatter every ceiling you thought was permanent. Do you know what it feels like to cry alone at 3 a.m. and think even God walked away? When your pillow is soaked with tears nobody sees, when your prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling, when you're surrounded by people but drowning in a loneliness so deep, it feels like your soul is suffocating. Chosen one, I need you to hear this. That crushing weight in your chest, that feeling like you're carrying the world on your shoulders while everyone else seems to glide through life, that's not punishment, that's preparation. You see, there's something the enemy doesn't want you to understand about your pain. He wants you to believe that God forgot about you, that your suffering means you're cursed, that maybe you're not really chosen after all. But that's the biggest lie hell ever told. Listen to what David wrote in Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Not close to the perfect, not close to those who have it all figured out. Close to the broken, close to you. But why? Why does it hurt so badly when you're supposedly chosen? Why does the path of the anointed feel like walking through a minefield in the dark? Here's the shocking truth they don't teach in Sunday school. Every spiritual giant you've ever admired walked through hell before they walked in power. Moses spent 40 years in exile before he split the Red Sea. David dodged spears in caves before he wore a crown. Joseph rotted in prison before he ruled Egypt. And Jesus himself cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" before he conquered death. Your pain isn't evidence that God abandoned you. Your pain is evidence that you're being prepared for something so massive, so significant, that the enemy is terrified of what you'll become. Think about it. When was the last time the devil attacked someone who wasn't a threat? When was the last time hell unleashed fury on someone who didn't carry kingdom potential? You're not suffering because you're weak. You're suffering because you're dangerous. But here's what breaks my heart: you've been carrying this alone, haven't you? You've been smiling on Sunday morning while dying on the inside. You've been encouraging others while your own faith hangs by a thread. You've been the shoulder everyone cries on while your own tears fall in secret. Stop for a moment. Feel that ache in your chest. That's not emptiness, that's expansion. God is stretching your capacity because what He's about to pour into your life is bigger than the container you used to be. You weren't losing faith during those dark nights, you were being refined. He wasn't silent, He was shielding you from attacks you couldn't see. He wasn't absent. He was forging you in the furnace of affliction, because iron sharpens iron, and pressure creates diamonds. But why you? Why did God choose you to carry this weight? Here's the revelation that's going to change everything. Your private pain was never about you. It was training you for a public mantle. Every tear you cried alone is becoming anointing oil. Every sleepless night you wrestled with doubt is building spiritual muscle. Every time you chose to worship in the darkness, you were proving to heaven that you could be trusted with light. The very thing that almost broke you is becoming the very thing that will heal thousands. Your mess is becoming your message. Your trial is becoming your testimony. Your pain is becoming your platform. You know what Job said after he lost everything? "Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him." Job 13:15. That's not religious rhetoric, that's royal DNA. That's the sound of someone who understands that their suffering has a purpose beyond their understanding. And right now, as you're listening to these words, something is shifting in the spiritual realm. The season of hidden preparation is ending. The time of public vindication is beginning. But here's the question that will determine your destiny. Will you let the pain make you bitter, or will you let it make you better? Will you curse the process, or will you trust the potter who's been shaping you with nail-scarred hands? Because I'm telling you right now, what the enemy meant for your destruction, God is about to use for your promotion. What hell intended to silence you with, heaven is about to amplify through you. Your breakthrough isn't coming in spite of your pain. Your breakthrough is coming because of your pain. Every scar is about to become a badge of honor. Every wound is about to become a well of wisdom. And the very people who watched you suffer in silence are about to watch you rise in power. But first, you have to make a choice. Will you stay hidden in your hurt, or will you step into your healing? Will you remain a victim of your circumstances, or will you become a victor through Christ? Because chosen one, your warfare is about to become your welfare. Your midnight is about to become your breakthrough moment. The question is, are you ready to see why God allowed you to walk through hell to get to heaven? Chosen one, I need you to understand something that's going to shake everything you thought you knew about timing, about waiting, about breakthrough. You've been living under a massive spiritual deception. You've been told to wait. You've been conditioned to believe that your breakthrough is somewhere out there in the future, hanging like a carrot on a stick, always just beyond your reach. But what if I told you that everything you've been waiting for? What if I told you it's not coming? What if I told you it's already here? Right now, as I'm speaking these words, something is shifting in the heavenly realm. The spiritual atmosphere around your life is realigning. It's like divine GPS recalibrating, and instead of that robotic voice saying, recalculating route, heaven is declaring breakthrough route confirmed. You feel it, don't you? That restlessness in your chest, that inability to sleep, that strange sense that something massive is about to happen. That's not anxiety, beloved. That's spiritual labor pains. You're not having a breakdown, you're having a breakout. Listen to what Isaiah 66:9 says. Do I bring to the moment of birth and not give delivery? Do I close up the womb when I bring to delivery? God doesn't start something, He won't finish. And what He's been forming in the secret place of your spirit is crowning right now. For too long, you've been told that breakthrough requires more prayer, more fasting, more waiting. But what if breakthrough isn't about doing more? What if it's about recognizing that God has already done everything? In John 19:30, Jesus cried out, "It is finished." He didn't say, "It will be finished," or "It might be finished." He said, "It is finished." Past tense, complete, done. And that includes your breakthrough, your healing, your provision, your purpose. The problem isn't that God hasn't moved. The problem is that you're still looking for Him to move. You're staring at the sky, waiting for lightning, when the power is already coursing through your veins. Heaven's clock just struck 0, not midnight 0. The countdown is over. The waiting room is closed. The labor is complete. What you've been gestating in prayer, in tears, in silent surrender, it's ready to be born. But here's what's going to challenge everything you believe about how God works. He's not going to deliver this breakthrough to you. He's going to deliver it through you. You are not the recipient. You are the vessel. You are not the audience. You are the instrument. The breakthrough you've been praying for is actually the breakthrough God has been preparing you to be for someone else. Think about Moses standing at the Red Sea. The Israelites were crying out, "God, do something." But God said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move forward. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea." Exodus 14:15-16. God wasn't going to part the sea until Moses moved his staff. The miracle was waiting on human obedience. The supernatural was suspended on natural action. Your breakthrough is standing at attention, waiting for you to stop asking God to move and start moving yourself. It's not about if, it's not about when, it's about you moving. The breakthrough is already walking toward you. Are you walking toward it? But let me tell you what's really happening in the spirit realm right now. Every force of hell that has been assigned to delay you, to discourage you, to make you doubt your calling, they're in full panic mode because they know what you're just beginning to discover. Their time is up. The enemy's greatest weapon against you was never your circumstances. It was time. He convinced you that you were running out of it. He made you believe you were too old, too late, too broken, too ordinary. But 2 Peter 3-8 reminds us that with the Lord a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. God doesn't operate on Earth's timeline. He operates on eternity's calendar. And on eternity's calendar, you're right on schedule. The shift that's happening right now isn't just personal, it's generational. What breaks open in your life doesn't just affect you. It affects your children, your grandchildren, your bloodline for generations to come. You're not just getting your breakthrough, you're becoming someone else's breakthrough. Every tear you've cried, every prayer you've whispered, every night you've wondered if God was listening, it wasn't in vain. It was deposits in a spiritual account that's about to pay dividends you never imagined. But the shift requires something from you. It requires you to stop living like a victim of your circumstances and start living like the victor God declared you to be. It requires you to stop speaking about your problems like they're permanent and start speaking about God's promises like they're imminent. Right now, I want you to feel the spiritual electricity in the atmosphere. If you sense this shift in your spirit, if something deep inside you is saying, "Yes, this is my time," then I need you to declare it. Comment below, "The shift is here. I receive it." Don't just type it, declare it. Let heaven hear your voice. Let hell know you're awake. Let your spirit align with what God is already doing. And here's why this moment is so critical. This message isn't meant to be hoarded. Share this with someone you love, because breakthrough is never just about you. It's about everyone in your sphere of influence. Your rising lifts others. The shift has begun. The question is, will you shift with it? You know what breaks my heart? It's watching God's chosen ones walk through life thinking they're ordinary when they've been carrying spiritual dynamite in their chest since the day they were born. Listen to me, dear one. That feeling you've had your entire life, that sense that you're different, that you see things others miss, that you know things before they happen, you weren't imagining it. You weren't being dramatic. You weren't losing your mind. You were awakening to the ancient keys God embedded in your spiritual DNA before you took your first breath. Here's what the church won't tell you. Every single believer carries supernatural gifts. Not just pastors, not just prophets. You. 1 Corinthians 12:7 says it plainly, the manifestation of the Spirit is given to each for the common good. Each. That means you. That means the grandmother in Ohio who always knows when to call her daughter right before crisis hits. That means the retired teacher in Florida who walks into rooms and somehow calms every storm. But here's the tragedy. 95% of believers die with their gifts still wrapped in the basement of their soul. Never opened, never activated, never used for the kingdom. They spend their whole lives thinking they're just sensitive or intuitive when they're actually carrying the fire of heaven. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You've always been the one people come to when they're broken. Complete strangers pour their hearts out to you in grocery store lines. You walk into a room, and somehow, without saying a word, the atmosphere shifts. People feel safer, calmer, more hopeful. Or maybe this, you get sudden knowing about people, flashes of insight that turn out to be exactly right. You dream things before they happen. You pray for someone, and later find out it was the exact moment they needed it most. You've stopped arguments just by your presence. You've spoken words that healed hearts you didn't even know were bleeding. You thought it was coincidence, didn't you? You thought everyone experienced life this way. They don't. What you've been experiencing are the manifestations of spiritual gifts that have been lying dormant in your spirit, waiting for someone to tell you the truth. You were born with supernatural abilities because you were born for supernatural purpose. Let me shock you with something else. Your family probably didn't understand you growing up. Your sensitivity was called too much. Your insights were dismissed as imagination. Your spiritual hunger was labeled weird or overly religious. They tried to make you normal because your fire made them uncomfortable. But God never called you to be normal. He called you to be a carrier of His presence in a dark world. Here's what's been happening to you spiritually, and this is going to blow your mind. Every time you felt called to pray for someone, that was the gift of intercession, activating. Every time you just knew something was wrong with a loved one, that was the gift of discernment, operating. Every time your words brought peace to chaos, that was the gift of healing flowing through your voice. These weren't random moments. These were your spiritual gifts breaking through the surface, trying to get your attention, trying to wake you up to who you really are. But here's where it gets even deeper. You know why these gifts have been stirring stronger lately? You know why you've been feeling more spiritually sensitive, more aware, more urgent about prayer and purpose? Because we're living in biblical times. We're living in the days when God is raising up an army of ordinary believers with extraordinary gifts to be His hands and feet in the earth. The gift that your grandmother carried but never fully activated, it's been passed down to you, waiting for this generation, this moment, this spiritual awakening that's sweeping across America right now. Esther didn't know she was born for such a time as this until the moment of crisis. Moses didn't know he carried the power to split seas until Pharaoh's army was breathing down his neck. David didn't know he was born to kill giants until Goliath showed up, mocking the armies of the living God. And you? You didn't know you were born with the spiritual authority to shift atmospheres, break generational curses, and carry breakthrough into impossible situations until right now. I'm telling you something that's going to shake you, That restlessness you've been feeling, that sense that something big is about to happen, that's not anxiety, that's anticipation. That's your spirit recognizing that the season of hiding is over and the season of activation has begun. Your gifts aren't accidents, they're assignments, they're not burdens, they're blessings waiting to bless others through you. That supernatural sensitivity that the world tried to shame out of you, that's your spiritual radar, finely tuned by heaven to detect what others can't see, to hear what others can't hear, to know what others can't know. You've been walking around thinking you're just another face in the crowd when you've been carrying the very presence of God in your chest. You've been apologizing for being too much when God specifically made you that way because the world needs exactly what you carry. But here's the question that's going to determine everything. Now that you know, what are you going to do with it? Because knowing changes everything. You can't unknow what you just learned about yourself. You can't go back to pretending you're ordinary when you've just discovered you're carrying the supernatural DNA of the Most High God. The question is, are you ready to stop hiding and start operating in the fullness of who you were created to be? Listen to me, chosen one. You've felt the stirring. You've heard the call. But here's the brutal truth. Most spiritual teachers won't tell you feeling the calling is only 10% of the equation. The other 90% is what you do with it. And right now, this very moment, there's a door standing wide open in front of you. But doors don't stay open forever. You know what breaks my heart? I've watched thousands of believers receive prophetic words, get goosebumps during worship, feel the presence of God so thick they could cut it with a knife, and then go home and live the exact same life. They treat divine encounters like entertainment instead of instructions. They mistake spiritual experiences for spiritual transformation. But not you, not today, because what I'm about to give you are the sacred instructions, the non-negotiable actions that separate those who dream about breakthrough from those who walk in it. These aren't suggestions. These aren't nice ideas for when you feel like it. These are divine commands from a God who's tired of watching his chosen ones live beneath their calling. First, start your day in stillness. Before you check your phone, before you pour that first cup of coffee, before the world gets its claws into your mind, you belong to God first. Jesus himself demonstrated this. Mark 1:35 tells us, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. If the Son of God needed that sacred hour, what makes you think you can skip it? Every morning you wake up without seeking his face first, you're essentially saying, God, I got this. I don't need your guidance today. And then you wonder why breakthrough feels so distant. I want you to picture this. Tomorrow morning, while your neighbors are scrolling through social media, while the world is feeding on anxiety and chaos, you're going to be different. You're going to sit in the quiet and let heaven download instructions directly into your spirit. That's not just prayer time, that's intelligence gathering from the throne room of God. Second, speak declarations aloud. Your mouth is a weapon. Your words carry creative power. Genesis 1 shows us that God spoke everything into existence, and you, made in his image, carry that same creative force on your tongue. But most of you have been using your mouth like a garbage disposal instead of a divine instrument. Starting today, you're going to declare these words over your life every single morning. I am chosen. I am equipped. I am favored. What God has for me, no man can stop. What he opens, no man can shut. I walk in divine alignment, and breakthrough follows me wherever I go. Say it out loud right now. Don't whisper it, don't think it, speak it. Because Proverbs 18:21 declares, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Every morning you wake up silent about God's promises is another day you give the enemy permission to fill that silence with lies. Third, write your dreams down. God is speaking to you in the night seasons, but you're treating his revelations like random entertainment. Habakkuk 2:2 commands, write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. Every dream, every vision, every supernatural impression, capture it. Get a notebook, keep it by your bed. When you wake up with that strange dream, that vivid vision, that sudden knowing, write it down immediately. Because here's what you don't realize. God has been downloading your next level instructions while you sleep, and you've been dismissing them as pizza dreams. That recurring dream about speaking to crowds, that vision of starting that ministry, that impression about moving to a new city, stop treating them like random thoughts. Start treating them like divine GPS coordinates. Fourth, guard your energy like a temple. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, but you've been treating it like a public restroom. You let anyone and everyone dump their negative energy, their complaints, their unbelief all over your sacred space. And then you wonder why your spiritual sensitivity is dying. 1 Corinthians 6:19 asks, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit? Every toxic conversation you entertain, every ungodly show you watch, every spirit of complaining you agree with, you're polluting the very place where God wants to meet you. Starting today, you're going to guard your temple like your breakthrough depends on it, because it does. You're going to stop letting energy vampires drain what God deposited. You're going to stop agreeing with spirits of doubt and fear. You're going to protect your peace like it's worth more than gold. Here's what I need you to understand. The enemy isn't trying to destroy you, he's trying to distract you. He knows if he can keep you spiritually unfocused, emotionally drained, and mentally scattered, you'll never step through the door God opened. But you're not everyone else. You're chosen. You're set apart. And starting right now, you're going to live like it. Type these words in the comments. I choose alignment. I declare that my life will not remain the same. Don't just think it, don't just feel it, declare it. Because heaven is waiting on your response. The door is open. The instructions are clear. The only question left is this. Will you step through, or will you spend another year wondering what could have been? Your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of your obedience. The divine door swung wide, but you froze. You heard the message. You felt that electric jolt run through your spirit. Something deep inside, you screamed, "Yes," when I called you chosen. Your heart raced when I spoke about divine timing. Your soul recognized truth when it hit your ears like lightning striking dry ground. But something still holds you back, and heaven sees it. You're still here, aren't you? Still watching, still listening. That's not coincidence, that's confirmation. If you had walked away after the first few minutes, if this was just another video in your feed, you'd be gone by now. But you're not. You're anchored here because your spirit knows something your mind hasn't fully grasped yet. This second message is your rescue from hesitation. Let me tell you what happened in the last few minutes while you've been sitting there. A door opened in the spiritual realm. A door that's been sealed for years, maybe decades. The same door that opened for Moses when he finally said yes at the burning bush. The same door that opened for David when Samuel poured oil over his head while his brothers watched in shock. The same door that opened for Mary when she whispered, "Let it be unto me according to your word." That door is standing wide open right now. But here's what breaks heaven's heart. You're still standing at the threshold, 1 foot in yesterday, 1 foot in tomorrow, paralyzed by the weight of your own calling. If you're still here, if your spirit is still burning, type, "I'm still listening" in the comments. Let heaven know you haven't walked away. Because what I'm about to tell you will either set you free or terrify you into running. You want to know why you're hesitating? It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're unworthy. It's because you've been programmed to doubt the very thing you were born to carry. The enemy spent years, maybe your entire life, convincing you that extraordinary things happen to other people, that divine appointments are for prophets and pastors and people with theology degrees. But here's what he never wanted you to discover. The most powerful moves of God throughout history happened through ordinary people who were crazy enough to believe heaven when it called their name. Moses stuttered. Gideon hid in a winepress. Peter denied Christ 3 times. Paul murdered Christians before he became one. And yet, God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. 1 Corinthians 1:27. You think you're too broken? Too late? Too ordinary? Friend, that's exactly why heaven chose you. But let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. How many more years are you going to waste standing at the edge of your own breakthrough? How many more nights are you going to lie awake knowing there's something more, something burning in your chest, something calling your name from the shadows? You feel it right now, don't you? That heaviness, that weight pressing down on your spirit. You thought it was depression. You thought it was anxiety. You thought it was the stress of life bearing down on you like a freight train. But what if I told you that weight isn't your burden, it's your calling trying to birth itself through you? What if that restlessness, that holy dissatisfaction with ordinary life, what if that's not a curse, but a compass pointing you toward your divine assignment? Jeremiah felt it too. His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. Jeremiah 20:9. You cannot hold it in anymore, can you? That fire is burning too hot. That calling is pressing too hard. That door is open too wide for you to pretend you don't see it. So why are you still standing there? I'll tell you why. Because stepping through that door means leaving behind the life you've known. It means releasing the safety of smallness. It means trading the familiar prison of what if for the terrifying freedom of what is. But here's what you need to understand about divine doors. They don't stay open forever. Ask the 5 foolish virgins who showed up after the wedding feast had already begun. Ask the Israelites who wandered 40 years in the wilderness because they were too afraid to enter the promised land the first time. Heaven doesn't send second chances because it's cruel. It sends them because it's merciful. But mercy has seasons, and your season is now. You've been circling this mountain long enough. You've been rehearsing the same fears, the same doubts, the same, I'm not ready for too long. Moses tried that excuse. I can't speak well, he told God. And you know what the Almighty said? Who gave man his mouth? Now go. I will help you speak and will teach you what to say. Exodus 4:11, 1, 2. God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. And you, sitting there with your heart pounding and your spirit on fire, you are so incredibly, undeniably called. The door is open. The path is clear. The only question left is this. Will you step through while heaven's invitation still stands? Or will you spend the rest of your life wondering what could have been? Because everything changes in the next few minutes. Everything. Chosen one, I need you to be brutally honest with me right now. How many nights have you laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if God actually hears you? How many mornings have you woken up and felt that crushing weight in your chest, the weight of unanswered prayers, unfulfilled promises, dreams that seem to mock you from a distance? You've been faithful. You've tithed when your bank account was running on fumes. You've prayed when your voice was hoarse from crying. You've believed when everyone around you called you foolish. And yet, silence, delay, what feels like divine abandonment. But what if I told you that every single moment you thought God wasn't moving, he was orchestrating the greatest comeback story of your life? You thought it was silence. It was strategy. Listen to me carefully. When David was anointed king at 17, he didn't sit on the throne that same afternoon. For years, he dodged spears thrown by a jealous Saul. He hid in caves, eating scraps, wondering if Samuel's prophecy was just a beautiful lie. 1 Samuel 16 tells us he was chosen, but 2 Samuel 5 shows us he didn't reign until he was 30. 13 years of waiting. 13 years of, where are you, God? But here's what David couldn't see from inside those caves. God was using every rejection, every betrayal, every sleepless night to forge a warrior king who would write half the Psalms and establish a lineage that would birth the Messiah himself. You thought he forgot. He was fortifying. Every prayer you whispered in desperation, every tear that soaked your pillow, Every moment you felt completely alone, God was building something in you that couldn't be constructed in comfort. He was developing a spiritual muscle that only grows under pressure. James 1-4 says, "Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." The delay didn't weaken you, it weaponized you. Think about this. A seed buried in dark soil for months looks dead to the naked eye. No growth, no progress, no proof that anything's happening. But beneath the surface, roots are spreading deeper than they ever could above ground. The darkness isn't destroying the seed, it's developing the foundation for a harvest that will feed multitudes. Your waiting season wasn't wasted time. It was preparation time. God wasn't ignoring your cries. He was answering them in ways your human mind couldn't comprehend. You thought he left. He was lifting you into alignment. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. Every no was redirecting you toward a yes so magnificent that you'll thank God for every closed door. Every setback was a setup. Every delay was divine timing, protecting you from receiving your blessing before you were strong enough to steward it. Remember Joseph, sold into slavery by his own brothers at 17, falsely accused and thrown into prison. Year after year of God, where are you? But Genesis 50-20 reveals the truth. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Your pain wasn't pointless. Your delay wasn't denial. It was preparation for a purpose so vast that you needed every ounce of character, wisdom, and spiritual authority that only comes through testing. But here's the part that will shake you to your core. Your season of waiting is about to end. Not because I'm a prophet, but because I can hear it in your spirit right now. That restlessness you feel, that's not discontent. That's divine urgency. That's heaven saying, the preparation is complete, the timing is perfect, the breakthrough is here. Habakkuk 2-3 declares, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." Your appointed time isn't coming, it's here. The flood you've been praying for is about to break through the dam of delay. But here's the question that will determine everything. Will you be ready to receive what you've been believing for? Because what's coming next will require every ounce of faith you've developed in the dark, every lesson you've learned in the valley, every prayer you've prayed through tears. The wait wasn't wasted, it was warfare preparation, and the battle for your breakthrough has already been won. Listen to me, chosen one. I need you to hear this with your whole heart, because what I'm about to tell you will either offend you or liberate you. There's no middle ground here. You've been sitting in the wreckage, haven't you? Looking around at the debris of what used to be your life, your health, your marriage, your savings, your dreams, and you've been asking God, why? Why did you let this happen to me? But what if I told you that you're asking the wrong question entirely? What if the devastation you're staring at right now isn't God's abandonment of you, but His renovation of you? You didn't lose it. He stripped it. I know that sounds harsh. I know it cuts deep. But stay with me, because this truth is about to set you free from years of bitterness and confusion. When the doctor told you it was cancer, when your spouse walked out that door for the last time, when the bank foreclosed on your home, when your children stopped calling you, thought God was punishing you. You thought you were being destroyed. But what if God was actually doing surgery? What if He was performing the most loving act possible, removing everything that was keeping you from your true purpose? You didn't collapse. You were excavated. The Bible tells us in Jeremiah 1:10 that God appointed the prophet to tear down and destroy, to build and to plant. Did you catch that? The tearing comes before the building. The destruction comes before the planting. God has to clear the ground before He can construct something holy. Think about this. Why would the Almighty Creator of the universe allow everything precious to you to slip through your fingers? Because His hands were full of something better. Because He needed both your hands empty to receive what He's been preparing for you since before the foundation of the world. The tearing was not to destroy you, it was to make room. Let me tell you about Sarah. 73 years old, buried her husband of 51 years last spring. Lost him to COVID, couldn't even hold his hand when he passed. For months, she sat in that empty house, surrounded by 50 years of memories, wondering if God had forgotten her name. But something beautiful began to happen in that silence. She started praying, really. Praying for the first time in decades. Not just blessing the food or asking for protection, but crying out to God with a desperation she'd never known. Today, Sarah leads the most powerful prayer ministry our church has ever seen. Miracles happen when that woman prays. Marriages are restored, addictions are broken, cancers disappear. She tells me all the time, I had to lose everything to find him. The emptiness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You didn't lose it. He stripped it so you could discover what was always underneath. And then there's Robert, 78 years old, lost his entire retirement in 2008. 40 years of careful saving, gone. His pride was shattered. His identity as a successful provider, demolished. But in that financial desert, God began speaking to Robert about the homeless men he'd walked past for decades without seeing. Today, at nearly 80, Robert runs the largest homeless outreach in our city. He's never been richer, he's never been more alive. Do you see what God was doing? He wasn't taking Robert's security away to hurt him. He was removing the false security so Robert could discover his true calling. The tearing was mercy, disguised as judgment. But here's where this gets personal for you. Right now, as you're listening to this, you're either in the middle of the tearing or you're still nursing wounds from when it happened. You're either watching everything fall apart or you're still angry about what already fell. And Satan, that liar, is whispering in your ear, God doesn't love you. If he did, he wouldn't have let this happen. That's a lie from the pit of hell. The truth is this: God loves you too much to leave you where you are. He loves you too much to let you stay comfortable in a life that's smaller than your calling. He loves you too much to let you die, having never discovered why you were born. The stripping isn't cruelty, it's construction. The loss isn't abandonment, it's preparation. The pain isn't punishment, it's purification. Job understood this. After losing his children, his wealth, his health, everything, except a bitter wife who told him to curse God and die, what did Job say? Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. Job 13:15. And what happened? God restored Job's fortunes double, not because Job was perfect, but because Job trusted the process even when he couldn't see the purpose. You're in your Job season right now. The question is, will you trust the tearing? Will you believe that the God who allowed everything to be stripped away is the same God who's about to build something magnificent in its place? Here's what I need you to understand. The very thing that broke your heart might be the very thing that births your ministry. The loss that brought you to your knees might be what positions you to lift others. The tearing that you thought would kill you might be exactly what needed to happen for you to truly live. The excavation is almost complete. Chosen one. Can you feel it? Can you sense something stirring in the empty spaces? Something new, wanting to be born? If the tearing has touched you, if you recognize your story in these words, if you're ready to stop mourning what was lost and start believing for what's coming, type, he's still building me in the comments right now. Because he is. In the debris of your dreams, he's laying a foundation for something eternal. But the question remains, are you ready to see what he's building? Chosen one, let me tell you something that's going to shatter everything you thought you knew about your journey. You think you've been forgotten, don't you? You think you've been passed over, overlooked, left behind, while others got their breakthrough. But what if I told you that every single time the world said no to you, heaven was saying not yet? Listen to me carefully. You were hidden from them because you were revealed to heaven. You were overlooked because your spotlight wasn't earthly. You were passed over so you could pass through the fire without distraction. Isaiah 49:2 says it perfectly. He hid me in the shadow of his hand. God didn't forget you, he concealed you. Like a master craftsman covering his greatest work until the unveiling, heaven has been shielding you from premature exposure, from the wrong doors, from connections that would have destroyed your destiny before it could fully form. Think about it. How many times did you wonder why that job didn't work out? Why that relationship ended? Why that opportunity slipped through your fingers when you were so close? You called it rejection. God called it protection. You called it delay. Heaven called it divine timing. But here's what's going to shake you to your core: every person who dismissed you, every door that slammed shut, every dream that seemed to die, they were all part of a sacred conspiracy. Not against you, but for you. Because while the world was busy looking elsewhere, God was busy preparing something in you that required absolute secrecy. You've been in the wilderness, haven't you? Like David, tending sheep while his brothers went to war. Like Moses, hidden in Midian for 40 years before he faced Pharaoh. Like Joseph, forgotten in that prison cell while his destiny was being arranged in the palace. You thought you were being buried, but seeds have to go underground before they can break through. And now, right now, something is shifting in the atmosphere. Can you feel it? That restlessness in your spirit? That stirring at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep? That's not insomnia. That's divine activation. Heaven is lifting the veil. The season of hiddenness is ending. The time of revealing has begun. Beloved chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred encounter, I need you to hold on to 3 unshakable truths that will anchor your soul in the days ahead. First, your hiddenness was never abandonment, it was appointment. Every season of waiting, every closed door, every moment you felt invisible was God preparing you for something the world isn't ready to understand yet. You weren't forgotten, you were being forged. Second, the stirring you feel right now, that restlessness, that divine urgency pressing against your chest, that's not anxiety, that's activation. Heaven is moving on your behalf, and what's been sealed in the secret place is about to break forth into the open. Your breakthrough isn't coming, it's here. Third, you are not walking this path alone. Every step you take, every prayer you whisper, every tear you've cried in the darkness, God has been there. He's been orchestrating, arranging, preparing. And right now, He's still working, still moving, still writing your story with hands that never grow weary. There's something else I need you to know. You're part of something bigger than yourself. This community, these voices joining with yours in the comments, this family of chosen ones scattered across the nation, we see you, we believe in you, we're praying for you. When you type those numbers, when you share your heart, when you ask for prayer, you're not shouting into the void. You're speaking into a circle of faith that spans from coast to coast, from the mountains of Colorado to the shores of Florida, from the heartland of Kansas to the bustling streets of New York. We are your tribe, we are your family, and we refuse to let you walk through this alone. So let me ask you this. What if everything you've endured was preparing you for everything you're about to become? What if this very moment right now, as you listen to these words, is the turning point you've been praying for? Before you go, before you close this video and return to your day, I want to place my hands on your shoulders in prayer. I want you to feel the warmth of heaven surrounding you, the peace of God settling over your spirit like a gentle blanket on a cold winter's night. Let us pray together. Father God, I stand before you now on behalf of every precious soul who has stayed with us until this moment. Lord, you see them. You know their names, their struggles, their silent battles fought in the darkness of night. You've counted every tear, collected every prayer, witnessed every act of faith when faith felt impossible. Right now, I ask you to wrap your arms around them. Let them feel your presence like never before. Where there has been confusion, bring crystal clarity. Where there has been delay, release divine acceleration. Where there has been doubt, flood them with unshakable confidence in who you've called them to be. Break every chain that has held them back. Shatter every lie that whispered they weren't enough. Silence every voice that said they were too late, too broken, too ordinary. Because you don't call the qualified, Lord, you qualify the called. Open doors no man can shut. It was preparation for a purpose so vast that you needed every ounce of character, wisdom, and spiritual authority that only comes through testing. But here's the part that will shake you to your core. Your season of waiting is about to end. Not because I'm a prophet, but because I can hear it in your spirit right now. That restlessness you feel, that's not discontent. That's divine urgency. That's heaven saying, the preparation is complete. The timing is perfect. The breakthrough is here. And Father, let them know, truly know, that they are deeply loved, specifically chosen, and powerfully equipped for everything you have ahead. In Jesus' mighty name, we declare breakthrough, we decree favor, and we release them into their destiny. Amen. Thank you, dear friend, for staying with me through this entire journey today. Your presence here tells me your heart is hungry for truth, and that hunger will be satisfied. If this message has stirred something deep within you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear that they're not alone. Comment below and tell us what God spoke to your heart today. Ask for prayer, we're here for you. And please, subscribe to this channel because there are more messages coming that your spirit needs to hear. Remember, you didn't stumble here by accident. Heaven sent you, and heaven isn't finished with you yet. Go in peace, walk in power. You are loved beyond measure.